Hi there, Magma here with my 278th Booktube video, and today I'll be bringing you a review for Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. This is probably my most read book. Went through a period of my early teens when I just read this over and over again. Couldn't get enough Jurassic Park at all. Absolutely loved it. Didn't read it for ages until about 2015, I think was the last time I read it. And so finally got to read it again. And I read it to my wife, who has never read it, and only really saw the film for the first time fairly recently as well. So for those of you living under a rock, Jurassic Park is a story about a theme park where genetically engineered dinosaurs have been bred and are put into the various paddocks. And before the grand opening, the owner, John Hammond, invites a paleontologist, a paleobotanist and a chaotician, along with a lawyer and his grandkids, to tour the island, see the sights, just to prove that the place is safe and everyone can have a really good time. Of course, the dinosaurs get out and death and mayhem ensues. Very successful film based on this came out. Did very well for itself, and I think we've now just had film 7 of the franchise be released. However, none of them have ever been as good as the original film, and indeed the original film is not as good as the book. Every single Jurassic Park film has borrowed a scene from this one book. But I'm not reviewing the films, I'm reviewing the book. So the book itself starts off with a bit of a mystery going on. There's a girl attacked on a beach by some little lizards that look like dinosaurs, a scene they use in the beginning of Jurassic Park The Lost World. There's a spate of babies and elderly being bitten by these things. Partially eaten one is discovered and sent around the place. What is this? Some exciting noise starts up. Also, a young construction worker is sent to a doctor's with terrible injuries. They say it was in a construction accident, but the doctor takes one look and says, no, this guy's been mauled. Basically the aftermath of the original film's opening scene. And so there's a little bit of a what's going on, bit of a mystery. Of course, not a huge mystery because we're reading Jurassic Park and we read the blurb on the back which tells you what it's all about. So there is that. But, you know, the characters, particularly Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler, get involved with this half-eaten thing. And of course, the various deaths on the island causing John Hammond to have to answer to lawyers. Is the park safe? And so he arranges for Grant, Sattler and Ian Malcolm to go and visit the island along with the lawyer. And of course they're midway around the tour when A, there's a storm turns up, there's always a storm in these things, and B, one of the main computer programmers has been bought off by a rival company. He shuts down the system so he can make a theft and make his getaway, which doesn't quite go to plan, leaving the dinosaurs to be able to get out and cause havoc. And what ensues is a really exciting, thrilling ride. For those really familiar with the film, certain people who die in the film don't die in the book, certain people who die in the book don't die in the film. There's some characters who barely are on the screen who get more time in this book, actual lines and everything. There are whole scenes in here that aren't included in the film and then end up in every single subsequent film. So there's a huge amount of adventure and excitement stuffed into this book. And it still holds up really well. It was published in 1991, and so some of the computer stuff is obviously dated by our standards, but even so, it's not aged badly in terms of how it fits in with the plot. You know, phones won't work because we're on a remote island anyway, yeah, and that sort of thing. I think the only negative, and my wife actually pointed this out, is that if this was written today, the characters would perhaps be fleshed out a bit more. They would have more of a backstory, more of a personal obstacle that they were trying to overcome. Whereas actually we don't really know much about these characters. I mean, Ellie Sattler's engaged to some guy, the kid's parents are having a divorce, and the lawyer is married. That's pretty much all we know about the characters before they came to the island, as it were. So, you know, they could have been fleshed out a little bit more, particularly as many of them aren't red shirts to get bumped off at the first instance. You know, they do exist throughout the story. And one improvement that the film does have over the book is young Lex, the little girl who is very young in this one, and very much at that whiny, bratty stage. Aging her up for the film to have a more mature actually made the character a lot more bearable for the film. She is very annoying in this and doesn't really bring much to the story that is of benefit. She's the annoying noise that's going to cause the dinosaurs to come looking this way. She's the one that didn't do what needed to be done, which means our characters are now in jeopardy. And like most Michael Crichton books, it does get a little bit sciencey, but it doesn't get too lost in it. Some of the exposition scenes about the how and the why and the what are cleverly used to actually increase the tension, increase the presence of the cracks in the safety of this island, and go towards convincing our main crew that this island is not safe, that things could possibly go wrong very easily even before they all obviously do. And the other big difference from the film is this book is a lot darker, a lot more gruesome. A lot of intestines in this one. There's dinosaurs and humans getting disemboweled, not just by raptors, but yeah, these are dinosaurs with big claws and teeth, bigger than disemboweling. The word intestine is used at least 3 times here, if not more. And rather than just be a monster story, this is a cautionary tale on not necessarily genetic experimentation, but on unguarded scientific probing, as it were. No, they're too busy working out if they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. And this book really is an underline of how does this next technological achievement, invention, actually further humanity's chances of survival on this planet? Well, actually, they probably don't. They may actually reduce our chances due to consequences that aren't unforeseen, they just weren't looked for in the first place. And Michael Crichton uses the character of Ian Malcolm to really wax lyrical about that. However, before he gets too preachy, somebody else gets attacked or another dinosaur breaks out of something and we're back to the action again. Absolutely gripping, really, really interesting, and like I say, I think it's dated pretty well in the 30 plus years since it was published, and there are certain scenes that are just as relevant today, and perhaps even more poignant today than they were back when this was written. If you haven't read Jurassic Park, then I do recommend you give it a go. But just be aware, if you're only familiar with the film, although the film is great, it is a severely watered down version of the true article. Jurassic Park, booktastic. So, have you read Jurassic Park? What's your favourite dinosaur? I always like Triceratops or Torosaurus or Styracosaurus, that sort of family of ceratosaurs. Those are my preferred dinosaur. These guys. Comments down below, please. But as usual, if nothing nice to say, then please keep it to yourself. Thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and other YouTube things if you want. And until next time, see you later.